welcome back. So today we are going to talk about brows amongst a few other things, but first we are going to review the Benefit brow pencil. Now, first things first, I just got out of the shower and I have naturally wavy hair and I just threw it up. So yes, I look like hell, but that's okay. And you're going to see me in like one of these t-shirts almost every time I video, because when I do makeup, I don't want to wear the outfit I'm going to wear for the day if I'm going to get makeup on it, which sometimes happens. So let's be real. When you get down and dirty and doing this stuff and wanting it perfect, you make mistakes, you get stuff otherwhere. I don't want none of that on my clothes. So the first thing we're going to do is grab a cotton pad and a toner of some sort, because we're going to do our brows. And some of us that have combination skin, oily skin, or even dry skin, I'm going to use the Lemonade Rose Water Toner that I got in like the Allure box, I think it was. You want to make the area that you are defining clean. And you're going to strip it of a little bit of oil to do that because you don't want a mess. And it's really, really hard to work with your brows or even makeup when you don't have a clean canvas. I'm sure you can understand that. So here is what I do, and my eyebrows are a constant work in progress because years ago I damaged them. Went waxing back in the 90s. Yes, do you remember that when we had like that little tiny brow that was in? All right, if you don't, guys, just know that us older ladies, we wreaked havoc on our brows. That makes sense? I don't know. But we just damaged them. We like literally like took them all out, and it comes back in bits and pieces now. So, I just had my coffee, so I'm awake. Grab some water. A cigarette if you want. This is how we're going to do this. I use a couple different items. First, you need tweezers. Grab your tweezers. And then you can grab like a little lady razor. Pretty sure I have one around here somewheres. Like this. Or you can grab, I like the Finishing Touch. It's like a little razor. It doesn't hurt or anything. But what you want to do when you're doing your brows and you're defining that line, I've come to realize you want the fuzz around it gone, because it makes it so much easier. When you have fuzz around your eyes or even on your face and you go to put makeup on, it kind of sticks to it and it kind of breaks things up a little bit. So we don't want that. So we use the toner, we clean everything up. It feels nice and clean. Now I can put something there and not worry about it coming off or not going on correctly or all that stuff. So I have a mirror in front of me, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this and just kind of get rid of any little fuzzies that I have around my brow. So when I do the brows, they come out the way I want them. And I don't have a lot, but if you let it go too long, you will notice quite a bit of fuzzies. We all have those white hairs. I'm sorry, ladies, but we do. They're super annoying. They get in the way of making ourselves beautiful, so we need to get rid of them. And that's what I did. I got rid of it. I like this because it's a little light. It was like 10 bucks at Walgreens. And I have to say, my daughter wanted one. My mom wanted one when I showed it to them. So it works. Now what I'm going to do is just go in and tweeze. God, I need new batteries for my mirror. Oh, just tweeze the areas where there might be a hair or two that is by itself, all by its lonesome. And we don't need any of those. Let's make sure we are good to go. No unibrow. That can't be happening. I really don't get too many hairs. I'm not a very hairy person, but it comes out so much neater. Trust me, I've been doing my brows for quite some time now, and I have learned that this is the best way to go. So now this Benefit, this first time I tried this, it came in a kit. It was the Desi's Bomb Ass Brows. And I ran out of it, so I bought this again. Now, this was a $24 pencil that I got from Ulta. And worth it, yes. However, in this box here, I had received the pencil, I had gotten an additional brush, and the powder I gave to my mom because it was too light. But you got all of this for $59. Yeah. This right here, over here is it's like the pomade. And, you know, this here is the brow gel, and this here is a highlighter it came with. It came with the pencil, and then it came with an additional brush, which had a spoolie on one end, and the angled brush on the other to do your brows. So I could say that that was the greatest value, definitely. It's a pencil. It goes on like that. You got to find your color that's going to match, obviously. This is a 4. Some of the other products in there are 3s. I'm like a medium kind of brown. So what I do is I first take the pencil and I figure out where my brow's supposed to start. Boink. And I put like a little dot there. And you know how you figure out where the end is. It's the same. Same thing, put a little dot, boink, dot. Okay, so now that we have these dots, and they're very light, you can't really see them, what I want to do is I want to start right in here and kind of just follow that line. I don't want this part right here to be too dark. So it just looks unnatural when you do that. So what I'm doing is I'm following my original shape of my brow down to that dot that I have made. And then I'm looking to see if that is my shape. It is. This is working. Okay. So what I do next is I did not have to trim my brows, but what you can do is you can push them in the opposite direction with the spoolie and go over them with some fine scissors and trim them if you need to. Otherwise, if they're too long, you're definitely gonna have to trim them. But otherwise, you can use the brow gel to kind of like keep them in place. But what I do now is I get really close up and I go to the top part of my brow. And I never used to line my top brow because it can look unnatural depending upon your brow size, shape, and all of that. And I've noticed that there's a different way to do it and it can look natural. So I'm lining it now as to where I used to not line it. I'm kind of connecting those lines and I'm following my shape. You see that? That's what I need to do. Follow the shape. Like I said, barely at the top. You do not want them too thick. Unless you do and you like them that way. But I see some pictures with some beautiful women and their brows are just like, and it's like, it looks really unnatural. I'm not saying it doesn't look nice, but it just doesn't look very natural. And I don't mind people looking at me and saying, oh, I love her makeup. But I kind of want to look like I don't put that much effort into it, even though I do. So now at this point, I'm going to go ahead and lightly bring that line down to where the other one was. You see how I did that? Lightly, 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 lightly. And remember your brows, they may be sisters, but they'll probably never be twins. I have one eye higher than the other. So it's challenging for me sometimes to do my brows and to get them the way that I want. But I do. You can notice that my left eye, it's on your right, is higher. You can see more of my lid than this one here. I do have a bit of a scar too because I got hit over the head with a bike pump when I was 2. Yeah. Needed stitches, wasn't fun. Anyhow, here we go with the brows. Now I'm going to take that line from the top and I'm just going to gently bring it out. Mind you, I may end up with concealer perfecting all of this because not every line you make is going to be perfect. Let's just face it, girls. That's just how it is. And some of us are still a work in progress when it comes to certain things. Okay, so that's kind of how I want my brows to look at the moment. Not when I go out, but at the moment. And what I'm going to do now is take the spoolie that's on the other end of this, and I'm going to brush them. And I'm brushing them because I want to soften up that line, but I also want to make sure that they're in place for when I finish this. I'm going to go over the areas where I think I need to line a little bit more, if I need to. This line looks kind of like it needs a little more defining. Okay, so I did that, and now what I want to do is I'm going to decide what I'm going to fill everything in with. And I have been using a variety of products. The pomade that comes with the Benefit Desi Bomb Ass Brows I've been using. I also have been using this Iconic London brow cushion that I got, I can't even get it open, that I got in the BoxyCharm Luxe from the March 2019. And I go back and forth between them as I feel I need to. So I'm going to take the lighter color. This is like a sponge. It's like a wet sponge. That's what it feels like. That's what it comes off in. Okay. You never want to start with too much product. You can always add more. Just mind you, when you're beginning to do this, the tail end of the brow should be a little bit darker than the front. That's what keeps it natural. Natural looking. And I kind of flick mine up, and I don't really, the end of it, I kind of flick this up, and the end of what I have left on the brush is what kind of gets on the front. And I'm okay with that because there's not a lot of product there. And I'll bring it out to that line and see how it works. See if I want to change anything. Okay, so this is what we have so far. It's a nice and natural looking brow. The other side. Start in the middle. Mind you, you're going to have a lot of brow products, lots of them, and that's okay because you can mix and go back and forth to find the right colors. Not every cosmetic company out there is going to have the right colors for you, so sometimes you need to mix things. Just like some people, when they try to shade match their foundation, wind up mixing a few because you can't always find your shade. You really can't. It's very hard to do sometimes. Okay. Okay. Now I want to take what's left, kind of flick this up a little bit. Mind you, things do get a little messy sometimes, but you can always fix that with some Q-tips, with some concealer, however you want to do it. Even some makeup remover. See how I made it a little bit of a mess there, but that's fine. Not a big deal. Go back and fix it. I might even be out of Q-tips. Always keep makeup wipes next to you, that's for sure. Okay, so now I've got a Q-tip that I used earlier, but I'm going to kind of get rid of that part right there. The brow cushion, by the way, it stays on. Like, it stays on. So I want to soften this up a little bit because right now it kind of looks like I put paint on my face in that area, and I don't want it to. So I'm just kind of lightly going over it as it dries down with that. And then I'm going to take out some concealer. Why do I always have issues talking? One of the best brushes, and I'm not lying, for eyeliner, for everything, is the Eco Tools. This is like such a sharp brush. You gotta be careful when you're doing the eye, but I can tell you this works like the best. So what I'm gonna do, and sometimes I use concealer and sometimes I'll use my foundation to do this. I'm gonna grab some concealer, stick it on my hand, and then I'm gonna go over my brows. Applying that to the angled brush, and I'm gonna start like I always do in the middle and define that line, and then bring it out and bring it down. Bring it out and bring it down. See how I have that there? And with concealer, that can be kind of a harsh line that you can get rid of, but that's why I sometimes use my foundation, because it's matching my skin and it's easier to blend. But I've defined that line now. It's a nice, pretty brow. I want to make sure that none of the color got on this. So I'm going to grab a makeup wipe. And I'm going to wipe this clean, making sure none of the color got on it. And none of it did that time. But sometimes the color, you don't want it to mix with the concealer because it gets in the way of what you're trying to do. You're dragging around color instead of defining that brow. And we want to define the brow. All right. Kind of drag it. And this gives us the opportunity to make our brows closely to match as we can. See how that kind of, yeah, it's getting there. All right. Define the line, pull it down. Now I'm going to go and do the top part. Again, love this brush. And then I'm going to pull it back. And there we have that brows almost finished. Okay, let's do the other one. It's really hard sometimes when you're right-handed or left-handed to do the opposite. So you've got to figure out the best way for you to do this. I put that line in there and then I use the brush in different angles. And I don't like harsh lines. As Jaclyn Hill says, no harsh lines. No, we don't want that. And now, like, my eyebrows are looking closer to being done. But as you can see, I don't really like this part being extended that far. So what I'm going to do, let's first wipe my hand off with the concealer, is make sure there's no concealer on my brush, no color on my brush. And then I'm going to go back in with some more concealer as soon as I figure out where I put it, or my foundation. I do my foundation. And I'm going to put a little bit of that on the back of my hand. Like this. My color is tan. It's tan. And I use Becca's foundation. I love it. I've tried other ones. Just don't seem to work. Okay, so here's what I want to do. At this point, I want to make this part of my brow look very natural. And the only way for me to do that is to go in with some foundation and cover up some of the color that I extended, as well as go over the concealer that I have placed to define that brow. And I promise you all of this comes together when you do your foundation. But it just doesn't, to me, look natural when I extend my brow that much. That I can work with. This coming out as far as it did, no, that doesn't work for me. Okay. And like I said again, you're going to start where you put that color. And you're going to soften that line. And comfortably drag down that foundation while you're sculpting your brow. And you can go and do this underneath as well. Now, I've kind of messed that part up. In the front, you see where it's kind of like a little bit down more. So I have to go back in and fix that. And I can, which is the good part. So I'm going to go back to my pencil and see if I can just fix that part right there. Like so. See? And then I will decide if I've angled it too much in the front or not, and if it matches one another or not, and then I will move on to shadow and foundation and all of those things. Now what I do like to do before I move on to foundation is grab a spoolie and get rid of any harsh lines. Mind you, the brow cushion has now dried down, but you do still have probably a little bit of that line that you first drew. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to see how it blends everything together. You're going to brush up, and you're going to brush down, and you're going to brush over, and then it softens it up, and it makes it look much, much, much better. Okay. Some days my brows are a little thinner, some days they're a little bit thicker. It's still a work in progress. Like I said, once you have lost most of the hair on your brow and you're trying to get it back, it's kind of hard to do that. But we've done it in this case as well as we can. So now I can move on. But now that this video is 20 minutes long already, I'm going to end the brow part here. I'm going to tell you that I do like using this. I also use the Anastasia from time to time, but it depends upon my skin color. I do tan, so it depends upon that on what I use. And like I said, you're going to want to mix things from time to time. But I do like this. This is one of my favorite products, one I use on a daily basis, and I definitely recommend it. I'm going to move on to doing foundation and another video on a different topic. So I am thanking you guys for staying with me this long. If you have, I would love it if you would like this video if you've learned something from it. And if you would subscribe to my channel, that would be great. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye, love. Highlight, contour, blush, and brows done. On to the eyes. Really coming together, isn't it? Now for some lashes. Finished look. Except for I just gotta put on a little bit of lip gloss.